So far we have been seeing in the first class. Now we know what is Salesforce and how we can do the development, and what is the architecture behind the development. Why do we need the development, and what are the various scenarios where we'll be needing the development. And we have been seeing the model view architecture and all those things. And now we know like what is the standard object, what is the custom object, and all those things. And we also know like what is model, what is view, what is controller. Okay, and we'll be focusing more towards the controller. That will be the first piece of our the development, which is the Apex programming. Okay. And there are like several tools to do the development. One of the thing is we'll be starting off with using the developer console, whatever the Salesforce is providing, and then we'll also be exploring the other tools that is available in the market. Okay, right. So this is day 2, the development. Right. So since we know, like, we are going to talk about the variables. Okay, what is a variable? First of all, what is variable? A variable is a data type where it stores the data in the computer memory. Okay, I don't want to talk about in the old language of Photon or the C++. Anywhere we'll be using the variable. For example, right? You are dealing with simple math. We want to add 2 numbers, and we say, okay, A is one of my number, and B is another number, and I need to sum, or like, I need to make an addition of A and B and store it in C. So if you see here, this A is a variable, B is a variable, and C is also a variable. Okay, and we will be saving C equal to A plus B, correct? Logically, this is what we need to have. Okay, so we'll be having A is a variable, B is a variable, and C is a variable, and we'll be putting A plus B equal to C. Okay, so when I'm saying like variable, all the variable will have its own data type, or any variable will have its own data type. Okay, like say for example, when we are talking about A and B, here in this case, A and B are going to have the number, right? When they are going to have the number, we have to declare like int A or int B and then int C, meaning this is called the integer. Integer is nothing but the numeric. Okay, so we have to, when we are declaring the variable, this is the variable declaration. Okay, when we are declaring the variable, we need to tell the program, right? Hey, okay, I'm declaring the variable A. Okay, what is A? We need to tell the system what is A. What is A? Okay, so A can store a number. It can store a floating value. Float, which means that it's a decimal. For example, if it is $1, it has to store like, hey, $7.50, 7.50 with a decimal, which is called the float, right? So we are going to save any variable that you declare that needs to have the variable declaration. Okay. Okay, let's keep that aside as the variable declaration. Okay. So now when we're talking about the Apex is a programming language. Apex is a programming language for the Salesforce. Apex is a programming language for the Salesforce. Okay. So Apex is nothing but, we already know what is Apex. Apex is a controller, right? Apex is a controller which controls the database, the model. It goes and brings the data, and then it delivers to the Weave. What is Weave? The visual force component generally to present the data. Like, okay, it could be a Visual Force page, Visual Force component, or Lightning component, anything. Okay, when we are talking about the Apex language, what is Apex language? Okay, we know Apex is a controller and Apex is a programming language. So when someone is asking, hey, do you know what is Apex? So we know that Apex is a controller now, and it's a programming language for the Salesforce. It acts as a controller, or it acts as a bridge between the model and the Visual Force. The next one, it is a, what are the features of Apex? What are the features of Apex? Okay, it'll tell like, okay, whenever you write any programming language, you will be having a data types, right? You'll be having a variables. Okay, like this is similar to Java or any object-oriented programming. Similar, Apex is nothing but, okay, I want to take you guys from very basic to make sure that you understand the concept completely. Okay, this is very similar to Java. Java, .NET, we all call that as a object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming. Right? I got some text message here. Let me take a look. Yes, oops. Yeah, object-oriented programming. So what is object-oriented programming? We will be having a class and we'll be having an object from the class, and the class will have, for example, okay, what is the object-oriented programming? We'll be having a class. Okay, the class can generate a object, and then the class can have a methods and variables. These are called member variables and methods. Some people say methods, some people say functions, whatever. Okay, some people say methods or functions, both are same. Okay, this is the, okay, when you're saying like Apex, now we know Apex, what Apex can do, and it's an object-oriented language. When we say object-oriented language, it will have a class. Basically, now we will be talking about what is class, what is object, and what is a variable and everything. So I want to, before we even go there, I want to tell you what is the variable. The variable is going to save or reserve some of the memory space in the computer. If you say A, like, A will be storing in the background, it's going to be stored in the computer. It's all going to be in the binaries, right? And then those memories are reserved for to store the integer, or it could be a string value, or it could be a floating value, or it could be a date, or it could be a long, or it could be a date and time. So those are the things. Okay, so this is a member variable. Okay, so when we're talking about the object-oriented programming, let's talk about what is class first. What is a class? A class is a combination, or the class is the collection of actions. Okay, collection of actions and its members. For example, let's generate a class for booking the flight ticket, something like that. Okay, let's take a class for booking the flight ticket. So basically, the class is a collection of action and its members. When we say members and its data, I would say it's data. Okay, and yeah, guys are coming, the business is coming and then telling, hey, Srinath and Jitan, you both are the developers. Can you develop your application for the flight reservation? Okay, so flight reservation in sense, okay, whatever you'll be asking like, what is the requirement? And they'll be telling, okay, so we should be able to book the flight. We should be able to cancel the reservations, or like, we should be able to create a new reservations, and we should be able to reserve the seats, and we should be able to do all these things during the bookings. All right. Okay. And what you'll be doing, okay, let's create a class. Like the class, for example, the class name is going to be like flight. Okay. This is how the class is declared in the Apex. Class name. That's all. The class name, it's a collection of actions and its data. What are the actions? What are the actions can happen in the class? Okay. Action means some kind of happening, some kind of operations, right? Okay. And the requirement was like, okay, new reservation. I want to do the new reservation for the flight, and I want to check flight status, and I want to bring up the existing reservations. Okay. Existing reservations. So if you see here, this is a class, and you can make these 3 actions on your class. Actions are nothing but the methods. I told you, right? It's a collection of actions and its data. Okay. When we are talking about the object-oriented programming, it will have the class. I'll be talking about the object a little later, and we will have a method and the variable. Okay. All I am saying is the requirement is to talk about the flight reservations. Okay. I'm having a class as a flight reservations. I can make a new reservation. I can check the existing flight state. I can check the flight status, and I can provide the existing, I can bring up or I can pull up the existing reservations. So if you see it here, now you know what is class and what are the methods or what are the actions. We call it as methods or functions. These are the functions. Okay. So, and then for example, you want to make a new reservation, right? How would you make a new reservation? You need to have some data, right? Okay. You will collect the data like flight number, to which flight you need to book a reservation, and you will see like, okay, what is the departure time, or okay, even before that, what is your from where you are flying. Okay. Source, or like, origin. I'm flying from New York. That will be origin, right? Destination, New York to London, the destination. Travel date, when you want to travel. Okay. Number of passengers. You want to get the information about like, hey, can you tell me what is the number of passengers? What are the number of passengers you'll be traveling? Like, you can even say number of adult passengers and also like kids passengers, right? Kids passengers. So if you see here, this is a class, and you are going to do all of these operations or actions, and these are all the member variables. These are the data. A data is nothing but a piece of information. What is data? We already discussed in the last class. Data is nothing but piece of information, right? When you're saying like piece of information, a flight number is a piece of information. I want to fly from New York. The origin is a piece of information. I want to go to London. London is a piece of information. So if Karthik wants to book a ticket, I can fly from New York to London. If Srinath wants to fly. He can fly from San Francisco to Delhi. So this all will change dynamically. Jatin wants to do fly. He'll fly from like Manila to Chennai. So he can. So everybody will just use the same class with the dynamic values. In order to store all those dynamic values, we need the variables, which is nothing but the variable to store the data. Okay, and also you will be using your actions to act upon the data. Okay, for example, the new reservations, right? The new reservations needs what is the flight number, what is the origin, what is the destinations, what is the travel date, and number of passengers, kids passengers, and all this. If you want to check the flight status, do you really need all this information? No, you don't need the origin or you don't need the destination. All you need is like just the flight number. In case if you do not know the flight number, you can provide some additional feature like, hey, if you want to know the flight status, there could be multiple flights flying from the same origin and destination. You can list them and then they can choose one flight and then see what the status is. But primarily you need the flight number to check the flight status. Or for example, you can even have one more variable called reservation code or confirmation code. Okay, if you want to, when we generate the new reservation code will be sent to the customers, like whoever booked the flight. If you want to get the existing reservation, all you need is the reservation code. You call this method the existing reservations, and then it gives you all the information. So which means, so far what we discussed about the Apex. It's a programming language for Salesforce. It acts as a controller, which forms as a bridge between the data, which is the model, and it presents the data and gives the data to the view, which is the visual force or lightning or any component. Visually that is available, applicable, presentation layer. So when we're talking about Apex, it's more of an object-oriented programming language. When we say object-oriented programming language, it has the class and its actions. Actions are nothing but the methods or the functions, and it has the variable. Okay. Today we will be creating one class and then we'll be seeing how it works. Okay. So that is how all the Apex is nothing but all the Apex programming will be having a class. Okay. Whenever you write an Apex, hey, can you develop an Apex class? That's what they will say. Hey, let's create an Apex class for that. So whenever we say like an Apex, it's just a Apex class. Okay. Now you know what is the Apex class, what is a variable, and what is the function. Okay. So in order to declare of all this variable, in order to use all these variables, you need the declaration. You need to declare. You need to tell the system like, hey, I'm going to use this variable. And how you need to tell like, hey, I'm going to use this variable and this variable is of this type. That is called the data type. This flight number will be of type integer, or it could be even string, right? Some people say like 725, like Qatar Airways. If it is a full name QR 725, QR is not integer, so it's like QR 725 is complete string. Origin, it will be a string. Destination, it will be like a string. Travel date, it will be like a date. Number of passengers, it's purely a number, so it's going to be just integer. You cannot say ABCD 7, right? It's not like that, or it's not like ABC. It's a whole number, like it will be like 1 passenger, 3 passengers, 7 passenger, whatever. The same thing, this is also an integer. Reservation code could be a string. So now the system knows I'm going to save a string value in this variable. I'm going to save a date value in the travel date. I'm going to store the number into this variable. So that is how you declare a variable in the Salesforce or in the programming language of Apex. Okay. And then this is the method. Okay. I got a chat message here. Okay, cool. So any questions so far? Like whatever we discussed. What is the Apex? And Apex is a controller and object-oriented. and whatever the examples, I always go with some stories or like the real-time examples, so that it will be you don't even need to go and read the book. You can by heart, you will get it, like hey, okay, this is the real-time scenarios, you will understand the concepts. That's why I'm just bringing in the flight, the variable, the real-time scenarios. Okay, I don't want to use like ABC kind of thing. All right, so now you know what is class, what is variable. When you're talking about the methods, right? So we're talking about the methods. So yes, string means text. That's correct. String means text. Yes, string means text. That's correct. Okay, now if you see here, I want to relate all of this data type to the field that we created. Let me log into the Salesforce. Okay, login.salesforce.com. Okay, so when you go to the object manager, right, and this is the setup admin, I go to the object manager and take an example of account. Okay, this is the fields and relationships. We have the fields and relationships. See here, the account field name is name. What is its data type? It's a name. So if I want to manage this variable or this field, if I want to manipulate this field, I want to save the variable in the format of string. Like say, for example, I want the number of employees, right? If I want to see, okay, now we know, like, okay, so now we know, like, this is whatever the apex that we are going to write, it is going to touch the database. It's going to put the data in the database. It is going to get the data from the database and then give it to the Visualforce or the Lightning, right? So in order to have that, you need to have those variables. For example, if you want to play with number of employees, you need to declare a variable with number. Okay, so we know that it is going to match with the fields. Okay, it's not that always it needs to match. What I'm saying is it really depends on the requirement. For example, you want to do some manipulations in your code. You want to write some logic, the same logic that I explained you in last session. The employees, whoever joined date is 2017, they have been working for 10 years in the company. So you will give the vacation time as 5 weeks. So there is a math involved. There is a math involved there. Okay, so you will take the joined date, that's a date format, and then you will do the difference of today's date, and then you will get the total number of years or total number of days, and then if that 10 greater than 10 years, you will assign the number of vacation to the value. Like you will say that, okay, if join date greater than 2000, number of vacation equal to 5, something like that. So if you see it here, the code will be like, if join date greater than 2007, right? You say like vacation days equal to 25 days. So you might not have this in the field. You might not have this in the field in the data in your object. This might not be your one of the field. This is just your temporary manipulation. So you want to declare as like integer vacation days, and then you will manipulate, like after your manipulation is done, you can save this data to the database. You can save the data to the database. Okay, so which means that it's a temporarily you are declaring. So okay, I got a question here. Yeah, so this is sitting between in the writing of the code for executing, and the user can view it on the screen. Okay, where he can function on it. Yes, so this code is written as the logical code. Okay, logical code or for the execution, and the user can view it on the screen is the Visualforce. It's presenting to the presentation layer. The logic is the key, correct? So this can integrate to the external world. This will save, this Apex class will save the data to the database. This Apex class will bring the data from the database. So that is why I explained you with the diagram. That is the middleman, which is the controller, which controls the data between the model and the beam. It gets from the database and then it transfers to the beam. Is it all clear so far? You can stop me anytime and you can ask. We don't want to move forward. Even no question is a silly question. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. But the key thing is that you need to understand everything. That's why we are here for. Even if you're talking about the one simple thing for 1 hour, which is okay. The key part is you need to understand. Okay, right. So what I'm trying to get here is, and giving you the flavor of Apex. What is Apex? There will be a short interview question. Have you worked on Apex? What is the highlight of Apex? You have to say that, okay, the Apex is a programming language for the Salesforce. It's a controller. It's object oriented. It is similar to Java. It's like, you can create a class, object, methods, and they can member functions and everything. And okay, so why is it different from, now you know what is class. We will be creating more classes, more classes in sense, this more class. Okay, and then we'll be practicing. We'll declare the variable, we will execute the code, and we will see how it works. Okay. Even before that, so now you know what is the Apex class, right? So when we are trying to see, like, what is that, how is the different from the Apex class? Like when you see, like, when you're talking about the Apex class, now I saw new reservations. You know how to do that. If you want to check the flight status, you want to pass the argument to the method. Like, for example, string flight number. You need to give input to the method, right? This is the action. You need to give something to do the action, right? You cannot go and say, hey Srinath or Jatan, hey, can you go and buy something? Or you cannot say like that. You have to say, when you want to go to the mall, if a Karthik is telling, hey, you two guys go and buy something, that is very relative. You cannot do that. I have to tell you, hey, go and buy a cloth, or go and buy a car, or go and buy a pen, or go and buy a cake, or go and buy a pizza. I have to give you the money to tell. So based on that, you will go and say, okay, so Karthik gave $10. I can only buy a slice of pizza. Oh, okay, Karthik gave me $1 million and he asked me to buy a car. You need to give input to the action, to input to the action to perform something. That's why we are giving the flight number to get the flight status. Check the flight status. You cannot go and say, hey, check the flight status. What? Tell me the flight number to check the flight status. I cannot go and check the flight status, right? So that is the input. This is called an argument to the function. You need to give something to the method to perform the action. If you want to retrieve the existing reservation, you have to pass the reservation code. Only then you will be able to get the reservation code, reservation details. Like if you say like XYZ is the reservation code. Okay, so passenger name is Karthik, flying from New York to London on this date. How will that everything will come? So like envision this, exactly this, in the form of page. Okay, I got some message here. Let me read it. Logic is the key. Yes, I'm clear. Okay, code. So envision in the format of in the form, like for example, I go to the sales, right? And I click on, for example, imagine like there we have a object. It could be a flight also. Like I go and create a new flight or new reservation. Think of this form. This form is the Visualforce form or the Lightning component form. All the data that you put, these are nothing but you are filling in the data. Controller will get all the data, and then when you click on save, it will put it in your database. Like if you want to click a new reservation, you go and say, okay, this is passenger name, how many passengers. You can go and select, like I want like 2 adults, 3 passengers, anything like that. And this is the source from London, New York, and this is the destination London, and this is the travel date, and then click save. So this is how you do it in your site, right? If you go to Expedia.com. If you want to, if you go to any of the site or like any of the airlines website, what do? They collect the information from the form and then they store it in the database. Okay, this form is the front end, the presentation layer. You fill the detail. The controller is the one which gets the data, process it, and then puts the data into the database, and then responds to you back saying that your reservation was successful and this is your confirmation code. So only then you will get to know, oh, okay, I did the reservation and my reservation was successful and I got the reservation code back and this is my confirmation code for any future reference, right? So now we're able to connect the dots, whatever I said so far, how the controller will work. I'm going to write a piece of class for you and then I will show you. But before that, you need to understand the concept, how the controller is going to function. Okay. And then, for example, if you want to retrieve the data, right, there will be another form where you can go and click like, like give me this reservation or give me the flight status. You put just only the flight number and then click search or click button. It will give you all the details back. The same thing, like if I create this form, ignore the flight. If I put all these details and click on save, it creates an account, right? And if I go to the account and if I click on this val test, it brings all the details back. When I click on this just val test, when I click on it, it brings like, whatever the phone number or who is the account owner, and it brings back all the details, the fax number, industry, and everything. So it's like into the database, taking out from the database. Who is doing it? Controller is the one doing it. Who is presenting the data? Visualforce or the Lightning component is presenting the data. In the Classic, it's Visualforce. In the Lightning, it's the Lightning component that is presenting the data. And where are we storing the data? Storing it in the database, in the background. That is why it is called Model View Controller. And the Apex is the one which the main guy who connects the presentation and the data. And in order to save that, for example, right? So now you know what is class, what is the member variable, what are all the methods, and you know what is the argument. I just want to tell you all the technical terms that we will be using. Okay, this is the argument. And you also need to know what is the return type. What is the return type? Okay. So when we write the Apex class, you must be, even before writing the first Apex class, you must be familiar with what are you writing, so that you can just start using those terminologies. Okay, so now we know the method, the argument, and there will be a return type. For example, you make a reservation, you provide all the informations, okay, and your reservation code will be your return type. You are calling this method and this does some job, right? For example, this goes and this make the reservations, and it has to give you the reservation code, and it will give you the return code, reservation code. And this is called the return type. Okay, now you know what is class, what is member variable, what is your function or method, what is the argument, what is the return type. When something comes back, it's a return type of the method. Okay, simple thing. Like for example, you want to have like add two numbers as one of the methods. Add two numbers. Okay, you're passing A and B as a number. Okay, and then what it does, you have integer C equal to A plus B, because this is the argument that the method is having. This is the method, and you're performing some action. What is the action you're performing? You are adding, and then you're saving it in C, and then you are return your C. Return your C value. When you say return, your signature of the method should be like your signature of your method should be like having the return type, which means your method will have the return value of integer. Okay, it's returning the C, so your method should know that it is returning the integer. So whoever is calling this method, they will need to know, okay, I'm calling the method and that returns the integer. I have to get back the integer value. Okay, so you have to use this skeleton or this format. And then I'll be showing you a very example. But basically, this is the return type, and then we'll be returning it from the method. So far, be honest and tell me, were you able to follow me? What is Apex? What is class? What is variable? What is method? What is argument? And what is the return type? You have to, this method has to have the return type, so you can, this method can return the value. So when it says return C, it is going to return the value of type integer, and that's why you are having the return type. So this is what the class is going to look like. Apex class is always going to look like. Okay. Jatin, were you able to follow me? Okay, cool. So, and another, so now we know like what is Apex or what is Apex and the programming language and everything, right? What is that? It is unique. What is that? It is unique from the other programming language. What is that? It is unique from the other programming language. Okay. Whenever you want to write a class, what is the highlight? What is the highlights of Apex? What is the highlights of Apex? Okay, first thing is, it is hosted in the cloud. Whenever you want to write a syntax, you go to the developer console and you can write your code. Okay, meaning where does all your code is saved? Your code is all saved in the cloud. What is cloud? It's a data center. You know what is cloud, right? It's a data center. Like Amazon Cloud, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. Who is saving all the data? In the old days, everybody will be having their own computers, own servers in their offices. Now nobody is maintaining the server. They don't want to maintain the server. It's very cheap to host it in the cloud, because wherever we go, if I'm in US or if I'm in India, if I'm in Singapore or if I'm in Malaysia, I can access my server anywhere in the world because it's in the cloud. Okay, so that is why it's very cheap than we managing the server. We give it to the vendors to manage our servers. That's what it's called, Amazon Cloud and Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure. They manage our systems. Similarly, the Salesforce is, the whole platform is hosted in the cloud. The Salesforce itself is a cloud platform. All you need is the username, password. You just carry that everywhere, wherever you want to remember. You can go and log in from US or Singapore or India, wherever you want, you can access it. So it's all hosted in the cloud. Okay. It's hosted in the cloud. All right. The other thing is, it's now the other highlight is, now we know what is the Apex, right? It's the object-oriented programming language, which has the class, object, and all those inheritance and interface. We'll be talking about all the inheritance and interface. It is object-oriented. It's called class, object, member method, member variable, interface. I'll be talking about what is interface and inheritance and all that when you're talking about in detail the OOPS concepts. Okay. I just want to make sure that before I start writing your code, you understand the concept. So when we write your code, you know that what you're doing. Okay. And the one important thing is, it's a typed language. Typed language. What is called typed language? Remember, in the Java or in the previous languages, you need to compile first. Okay, your compiler compiles your code, and then you have to run it, and then tells that your code is getting executed. That it's very cool in Salesforce. When you type, it will execute. When you type, it will execute. As soon as you type, like, hey, if you just declare like, just Karthik, it will tell you on the error message that, hey, I don't understand who is Karthik, who the hell Karthik is. And if you put string Karthik, it is going to understand. It's going to tell that, hey, I don't see the semicolon at the end. And when you put it like this, it's going to tell, oh, okay, I can understand it. There will be no error message. As soon as you type, it's compiling, and then it's giving you the information. It's providing the output. That is why it's called the typed language. Do you understand the meaning of typed? I will give you a demo, like, hey, why is it called typed? When I'm typing the programming, when I'm typing a code in the Salesforce, I'll tell you. Okay. And the next one is, the next highlight is, it is database integrated. It is database integrated, meaning in the Java or in .NET or in Visual Basic or anything, In order to connect to the database, you need to write like 15 lines of code. You need to write like 15 lines of code. You need to open up the connection. You need to tell what type of driver you are using. You need to tell what type of database it is using. What is the driver that can connect from your client program to the database. It has to have, and then open up the connection, execute the code or query, and then close the connection and all that. There is no hassle, such kind of hassle in the Salesforce. It is by default integrated into the database. Meaning, when you type account dot, it will give you the account information, whatever it's in your database. If you type like any object like opportunity or lead or case or campaign, you don't have to create a separate code for connecting to the database. It's always database connectivity is available in the code. When you type something related to the object, it will give you the data, or you can even get the data. I will show you an example. Okay, when we're writing the piece of code, you will get to understand why I said database integrated, why I said type the language and all those things. It is always integrated into the database. Automatically, it's integrated into the database. Automatically integrated to the database. And then Salesforce is such a cool, the Apex is such a cool language. It provides your unit testing. Unit testing, meaning you as a developer, Srinath and Jatan, you as a developer write a piece of code. You cannot just say that, hey, I wrote a piece of code and it's going to work. No, we don't do that. When we're writing Java or like any other language, we use several tools to do the unit testing, like JUnit, like kind of like JUnit for the Java and other things. But in Salesforce, they are providing ways to create a test class and test the code. Unit testing. Okay, so these are all the highlights of Apex. When someone is asking in the interview, like, hey, can you tell me something about the Apex? That will be the first question. Like, if you're getting into the interview, they'll be asking, like, hey, have you done Apex coding? What is Apex? You should be able to tell everything practically. That way, they knew that you have a prior experience, and then it's a hosted in the cloud. It is object-oriented programming, and it's a typed language, and it's database integrated, and it does provide the unit testing functionality. It does provide the feature for the unit testing the code. Okay. Any questions so far? Let's go and write a piece of code, and then we'll see how we can write a class. Can I know more about the term string? Yes. The string is the data type. We haven't got there yet. I'll be taking a separate class about the data types. The next thing is coming the data types. Okay. When we're talking about the data types, okay, even before that, even before getting there, so there are like two types of data types. Primitive data types and the collections. Okay, I'll be talking to you about like what is the data type. I'll be talking to you what is string, what is integer, what is long, and what is the date, and all those things. Okay, so we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this. It's the next class about like string, long, and all those data types and all that. Okay, and what the term string? Yeah, the string is the data type. When we're talking about the string, okay, I'll show you an example. Then you'll understand. Okay, all right. So the next thing we'll be going through the data types. Before that, let's go and see how we can create a class, Apex class. Okay, let's go to, this is the Salesforce, and you click on this and click on the developer console. Okay, right. I'm going to close all of these are all the lightning things. Okay, these are all the lightning component that I have been teaching for the other batches, complex stuffs. Okay, see, this is one of the class. Okay. So this is how the real-time class will be. The Apex class will be. See, the same thing I told you, like class, and it will have the method. It will have the methods, and it will have the variables and all those things. Okay, we'll be talking about in detail, but that's fine. So file, new Apex class. I'll be teaching you all of these stuffs as part of the development. Okay, including the Lightning. The whole entire development will be taught. People will be teaching only the classic or like only the basic things, but we will be teaching the whole concepts of Visual Force, Apex, and Lightning. Okay. First, you're taking the class. When you click on the class, it's going to ask you what is the name of your class. Okay. You can even say like training 1, training class. You can even say like training day 1, day 2, training day 2 class. Okay. You just give the class name. And if you see here, this is the skeleton of the class. Public class name. That is how your class will be defined. I want to teach you about the what is public. So this is a separate concept called the access modifiers. Access modifiers. It's called public, private, or protected. Meaning, you want to say you are developing a class. You want to tell somebody to call your class. Your project will be having like hundreds of classes. We'll be working on one module. Srinath will be working on one module. I'll be working on one module. Chetan will be working on one module. And I am telling Srinath, hey Srinath, can you call my class? And then hey, this is the module that I'm working on. You call my class, and then you call my method, and you're going to get the output. For example, he's working on some logic to get the employee details, and he wants to calculate how much of vacation that the employee is eligible for. Jitan is writing the another piece of class, like okay, getting the employee ID and the join date, and then returning the number of vacation days that is eligible. You are writing that logic. All Srinath needs to do is call your class and then pass the information. This is the employee ID and this is the join date. For example, the same thing, excuse me. Like he's going to call this class. This is the class, or like this is the method that is Jitan is writing. And then, hey, give me the employee ID and give me the join date. I will give you the number of vacation days. It will be like, for example, it will be like this. Integer number of vacation days, and then get vacation is a method name, and we are passing string or number or anything. It could be even string empid, employee ID, and then date, join date. Okay, so Srinath knows that what is the employee ID, and he's calling the he knows that this employee ID joined in this date, and then he's calling this method. This method is written by Jitan in some other class. So when he's calling this, he's passing this to information, and he will get it back the number of vacation days, and then he prints it. Hey, you're eligible to have this many vacation days. Srinath has no idea about what the logic is written. Only Jitan knows. Like if it is join date is this, based on join date, I'm going to give 5 weeks or 4 weeks or 3 weeks or anything, right? So when you're writing this, Jitan can say, oh, okay, only Srinath can call, or anybody in my org can call, or anybody from outside can call. No, nobody can call. Only I should call. So those are the security related things. Either you can make it public or you can make it protected. We need to make it protected. Nobody can call. When you make it private, only within your organization somebody can call. When you make it public, it's wide open. Anybody can call. So that is what it is called as the access modifier. That is why it's called the access modifier. So when you're typing it, you're saying like public. Okay, we'll be talking about all the access modifiers in detail. Okay, and then this is the class, right? And then I'm saying like okay, so and then you're saying like okay, you're writing a piece of code. Okay, so public, how your class is going to be, like, that public, or like an access modifier, class name, and you're saying that, okay, your method name. Okay, how does your method is going to look like? Okay, something you are just writing a method to print some data, as an example. Okay, and in order to print your method, in order to print statement in Java, we used to call system.out.println. Whatever you want to print it in your log, here is called system.debug. See, it is called as soon as you as soon as you type it, it gives the error message. See here, it has two problems: missing semicolon. Okay, I haven't typed it, I haven't finished my typing, but still it compiles and then it gives the error message. Invalid constructor name called print data. Invalid constructor name called print data. So the reason the reason why I'm just explaining you here is, you need to make sure that whatever we learned, what is the Apex class? Okay, whatever we learned about the Apex, I'm just giving you the demo. Whatever we said, like, it could be the it could be the typed, or it could be the database integrated, or it is hosted in the cloud, or like anything, whatever we discussed so far. Okay, so if you type it here, it is going to say, like, right now it says, like, okay, this is missing the curly brace because I haven't typed anything at all. And also the developer console, if you see it here, the developer console gives this the help text, whatever you use in Eclipse or anything. This is the help text, right? When you type like dot, it is going to give you all the method that is available, system.debug, right? And then you have to say, every time, whenever you want to have just a simple string or simple text message, it has to be in a single quotes. See here, always the string is available in the single quotes. I'll be talking about a string in a bit, but if I want to just print, like, hey, this is my first program. Okay, so I'll be explaining you what is the data and everything. So if you see here, you can declare any variable, like integer, a, or if you want to print a name called, the name. So whenever we want to manipulate with the string, it is just going to be a simple text. Any data that you want to save it in a simple text, it's called string. Okay, for example, I have a string as a name. You cannot put Srinath in the number, or you cannot put Jatin in the number. It doesn't make any sense to declare a variable called in the integer name. Like, integer is purely meant for storing the numbers, not the alphabets. If you want to store a text, you have to declare the data type called string. You want to declare the data type as a string to save the text values. Okay, so I'm just typing it as a string. Okay, hey guys, give me 1 second. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, so All right. So now what we're doing is, this is the, whatever I explained, this is the data type, and then this is the variable name. This is the data type, and this is the variable name. Okay. We will talk about the data type, what are the different types of data types available, and why are they used, and all that. So this is how a simple class will look like. You see the problem here? Static is not allowed in the constructor. I also need to talk to you about what is the static. Okay. Like, what is the void? Okay. So now there is no problem at all. Okay. So let me explain you. Now you know what is the class training day 2. Like, this is the name of the class. I explained you what is the class. We discussed about this. What is the class here, right? This is the class. And I also explained what is the access modifier we have. And these are all the variables. We are declaring a variable called a or name or whatever this class is going to do, whatever this method is going to do. You need to have a variable. For example, if you see it here, what is this method is going to do? It's going to create a new reservation. It is going to get the flight status. It is going to get the existing reservations. All of these things, you need the variable to do some action. I'm giving something like, hey, go and buy something in the mall. I have to give you the money. So which means that money is the amount. How much dollar amount I gave you? I gave Srinath or Jatan. That is the variable. And then you go and buy pizza. That is your thing. So in order to do some actions, you need the variables, right? That is why I'm saying like flight number, origin, destination, travel date, anything that I have, these are all the variables. I'm then declaring. Okay, declaring the variable. We'll come back to this string, and since he asked a question, I'll just put a little bit more explanation about the string. Okay, so whenever we are adding the variable, what is it going to say? What is my variable is going to do? Okay, you know the travel date will have the date. Why are we going to use the? You should not use any variable without a purpose. Okay, without a purpose. If I want a pizza, or if I want a car, or if I want a pen, or if I want a coffee, I have to give you the money. Tell that, hey, get me this. I have to tell you. If I don't want, then why should I just why should I give you the money if I don't want that, right? So whenever you declare a variable, there should be a meaning for it. It's not going to throw you an error, but that's not a best practice. You cannot keep on creating the variable because you are using the system's memory. When you want to use it, you want to declare a variable. Okay. Now you know what is the variable and how we can declare that. This is how we declare the variables. We can even talk about lot of data types in future, and then as we progress further, we'll be doing more data types. Currently, I'm just doing the integer and the name as an example, and then I'm having my methods. What is that I'm going to do? Like flight reservations, right? It does the flight reservations. It makes a new reservation. It checks the flight status. It checks the existing reservations. It brings the existing reservations. What are we going to do? I'm just going to print the data. Print data. I'm going to print the value. That's all I'm going to do. Okay. System.debug is the print statement. I'm going to do it. Is it clear? This piece of code is clear. Any questions? When I'm typing itself, you can see the error message, and when I am it's saved in the cloud. You don't want to save anything in the local. It's all saved in the Salesforce cloud. We talked about it, and it's object-oriented programming. So this proves everything. The only thing is that it is automatically connected to the database. That is a little bit advanced. We'll be seeing it in the next class. But so far, whatever I wrote a class, very able to follow me. Any questions about the class, about the variable, about the method? And I'm just printing the data. That's all I'm doing. How about Jitan? Okay, cool. Okay, it's not fun just writing the class. How do we execute the class? Okay, so the Salesforce does provide the anonymous window. You can even open with the anonymous window. The same thing, you can connect the dots. You have to learn always. I prefer the learning by the little stories, or connecting the dots, or with the scenarios, so you don't forget at all. Say for example, this logic was written by Srinath, and Jatan wants to call. How do we do that? The same thing. So now we wrote a class. We want to execute this class. How do we execute this class? Let's go to the debug. Open anonymous window. Okay. What I'm going to do is, all I'm going to do, okay, this is the class dot this is my method name. See here, I'm trying to execute, and then this is the log. These are all the background things. As you progress further, you'll be able to see. You'll be able to see whatever it's happening. Okay, so this is the background thing. Okay, number of SQL queries. SQL means I'll explain you about SQL queries and all those things in later. What is DML and all those things. Right now, what you did, all I did is I wrote a piece of a class with a piece of code which prints my data, which prints the value. Okay. System.debug is the statement to print the data, right? If you go and click on this debug only, you can see the statement. See here, this is my first program. It got printed, it got executed. If somebody is calling this program, they'll be getting like, say this is my first program. So this is my class. All I did is I'm just printing this is my first program. That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to execute it. How do you execute? You go to the class, and then what I'm saying is class dot method. I'm just calling my class dot method. That is the skeleton. How do you call the class? How do you call the method? How do we call the method? You call it with class dot method. This is the skeleton. And I know what is my class. I know what is my method. Class dot method. That's all. So this method is, when I'm executing this class dot method, right? This method is getting executed and it is printing the data, and I'm able to see it. See here, I'm able to see it in my log. This is how you see the debug log. This is the debug log, execution log. Okay, it tells you at what time it got executed, what are all the things that happened, and what is the usage of the system and everything. And we'll be talking about in detail. Okay, and all you need to do is what is the output of this class? The output of the class is this is my first program. Is it clear? I got some text message here. Okay. So imagine anybody can call your method. You have 100 lines of code in your Apex class. If you want to expose your logic, anybody can call your class. And imagine the same thing here, guys. Like I have the flight reservation, new reservation, and I have the existing flight reservations. I can bring the data or I can cancel the reservations. All you need to do is the same thing. Either you pass the data and do the operations. Your logic will be here in your method. All your logic will be written in your method. All your logic will be written in your method. Okay. Like say, for example, since he asked a question about the string, right? Okay. So I'm declaring a variable called name equal to, okay, this is how it stores a string. String is a text. String is nothing but a text. It is storing the variable with the value, and you are passing the name. You are passing the name, okay, and then you are printing the name. This is like string concatenation. You are attaching to string, and then you are trying to print the name. Okay. So what it tells is, okay, so what it tells in the line number 4, like name, right? You cannot just say name. You have to tell what type of data it is. If you go to this thing that I explained you have to tell, see here, string flight number. You have to pass the data type. You cannot just say, tell your method this variable. You have to tell what data type is that. So I have to tell this is the string that I am passing. And then whatever I'm passing, I'm just printing it. Okay. See, this will show a star. If you want to save it, you can just command yes, or like mine is Mac, yours is Windows, means it's control yes. See, there's no error here. I'm passing the method with the name and then I'm printing it. Okay. And now if you go to the test, if I execute, it is going to throw an error because whatever the signature print data doesn't match, you need to exactly call class dot method. It has the signature. Signature means the format. It is getting the value, but you're not passing anything, right? When I'm executing it, what happens? See, method does not exist or incorrect signature. Void print data from training dev 2. You're not passing the right signature, or you are not, this method does not exist. Okay, so now you have to tell, I have to pass the name. For example, you are passing a value. What did I say? For example, either you can even string, or you can just pass you can declare here string name equal to Srinath. I'm passing the string name here. This is the caller. This is your logic. This guy is calling. Okay, and I'm passing here name. I'm trying to execute. Unexpected token. Unexpected token, line number 223. Our class name, string name. Okay. Okay. So the caller doesn't need to provide what data type is it. Okay. Only your code needs to have what data type is coming. Like if you see here, this is my first program, and then it's printing Srinath. I need to put some space here. Either you can just print it here, or you can even just put. So in Salesforce, the string is always represented by single quotes. Okay, single quotes is more important. Whenever you represent a value with a single quotes, it means that it's a string. Okay. All right. So I'm saving this, and when I'm trying to execute this, see here it is printing the value Srinath. But what happens to this value, Jatan, whatever I wrote here? It is getting overridden. I'm not using this. I'm not passing this. Whoever is calling, this is the default one. Okay. Whoever is calling, they are passing the value as Srinath, and the Srinath is the one who is printing it. Okay. Who is calling this method? This guy is calling the method, right? This guy is calling the method, and then he's calling the print data method, print data, and he's passing the name. What is he's passing? He's passing it as Srinath. It comes here, and then I'm printing the name that I'm getting it here, which means that it's a name. Okay, so I want to tell that whoever is calling the method and whatever it's passing here, that is what it is will get executed. On purpose I wrote this, Jatan, because this has nothing to do with that, because this is just declaring and initializing. I'm initializing the value. Okay, for example, if I just take this out, if I don't pass anything here, okay, if I just take this out, and this has to be inside this, it's an example. Okay, this is the member variable. Okay, inside this function I have this name, and then I'm printing the name. I'm not passing anything at all. Okay, and then if I execute this, it is going to print Jatan. The reason is nothing has been passed to the caller, and then Jitan is the variable, and then I'm printing it from Jitan. Okay, let's say for example, I'm just rewriting the code, the name. Okay, and then I'm having the declare. I'm having the variable called So when I see this, it will give you the error message by itself. Okay, see here also I'm having string name. Here also I'm having another string name. So it is saying the duplicate variable name. Okay, I don't want to have 2 times declaration. I'm taking out this, which means that there is no duplicate now. Because whatever the value comes, and then I'm overriding with my own value here in the logic, and then I'm printing. In this case, it doesn't really matter what the caller is putting. For example, I go here, I'm passing name Srinath. I'm passing name Srinath. It comes here. Srinath comes here. But now we are replacing with Jitan. Srinath doesn't perform anything here. It's replaced by Jitan and then printing the name. Let's see what is getting printed now. It is printing the Jitan. The reason being, it doesn't really matter what comes in. I'm writing my own logic to manipulate and then I'm printing it. The same thing. This is what the whole idea is. The whole real live project is all about. It is a class, it is a variable, it is a method, it is an argument. I'll still need to explain what is void and what is static and all in the next class. Okay. So it comes, you write your logic and then manipulate it. Either you can write here to save it in the database, or you can get it from the database here and then printing it in the Visualforce. Anything we can do. But this is the controller. Any questions? Was it helpful? Were you able to follow me? Now you know you're happy to write a piece of code, the piece of class, declaring a variable, writing a method. Just pass your method and print it, and then call it. You'll get a confident of how to write a piece of Apex class, how the caller is using, and this is what the whole idea is about. All the bigger projects, it doesn't really matter. Instead of writing 2 lines of code, there will be like 100 lines of code, but the concept is same. You're having a class method, somebody will be calling, they'll be passing an argument, the logic will be written here, and then this method will be either doing some operations here or it will return the value. We did not see the return the value. We'll be talking about in the next class, how to return the value from here. The terms that which we don't declare should be in single quotes to be printed. The terms which we don't declare should be in single quotes to be printed. Yes. See here, this is the static which we did not declare anything. This is a single simple thing to be printed. So it should be in a single quotes to print it. If you want to print it in the log, this is a log statement, system.debug. When you want to debug, you're just putting some information in the log. That is why when you execute, see here, you see in the debug log message. This is the execution log. You see it in the logs. Okay. Okay, any feedback from this class, or the way that we are proceeding? Am I too faster? Am I too slower? Or am I getting into the concept? Is it all self-explanatory? Am I explaining it to you in the way that you can understand, or do you want me to correct it in certain way you can understand better, or any feedback, so that before we go into the complex topics, we can fix the way that we learn? What I want you to guys do it, go and write a piece of line, write a piece of class, declare a variable, call it, print it. Then you know what is Apex class, what is variable, what is method, how you can call it, and everything. This is the whole idea. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can ask any doubt that you want. Okay, this is just a class that I'm saying. I need to create an object, and we will be going through a lot of complex stuff, how to create an object, what are the various data types. Right now, you know what is string. String is to store it's a data type to store the text. Okay, like date, time, or integer, anything that we can do. and then we'll be saving them in the database. We'll pulling it from the database. We will be manipulating the account object or lead object or whatever the object that is available in Salesforce. We'll be dealing with that. Okay. Okay. So Jatin, sorry, I don't know if I'm calling you right. Fix me. Right. We're able to understand what is the string now, since you asked that question. How to declare the variable, how to print the value, and all that. Okay, cool. All right, guys, and the next class probably we'll meet on either Saturday or Sunday. I'll text you, but Sunday will be our. I'm planning to have like 3 classes in a week, so that you get some time to do some hands-on. Okay, so we'll be progressing in a faster mode. Like I'll be adding like little more concepts. Okay, now you know what is class. We have been doing so good for the past 2 classes. Now you know what is Salesforce, what is Apex, what the Apex can do, writing a class, method, variable, printing it. That's good. Okay. The next class will be returning the data, how to save the data to the database, how to declare a variable, what are the various data types. We'll be progressing more. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you. See you in next class. Bye.